The 2025 college football playoff bracket is here, and now we know the 12 teams competing for a national championship. The biggest news of all, Miami is in over Notre Dame. Sam Becton and Wayne Staats, what is your take on this?
So I think it's the right decision. Just how they got there is a little confusing. I think if this is only bracket show reveal, I think most people will be pretty happy, honestly, with the bracket. But it's the process of the timing of it is kind of confusing. Why Miami jumps Notre Dame now when you can argue nothing really changed for the two of them? If anything, you can argue if you're really going to get down to it that Notre Dame actually has a better resume because the Boise State way in the Mountain West. So it's kind of weird that this is the week they decided to flip the two, which probably should have done weeks ago. But yeah, very, very curious situation. But yeah, it's again, I think it's the right call in a vacuum, but the process and the timing is kind of confusing.
And you can kind of tell that they were setting up for it last week when they, had just BYU in between them and moved Alabama up. You can tell, like, okay, they might be posturing in a position where if BYU loses, which they were projected to do, they can now get them back to back and finally get rid of that head-to-head discussion just naturally. But it was a little odd seeing them, kind of handle the back end of the bracket with Miami the way they did, especially when you factor in the Alabama factor as well. It was just a lot going on there in that back end. It's like you make a decision with one reasoning one spot and a different reasoning in another spot. How did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, like why is Alabama still 9, didn't drop despite getting blown out against Georgia, but BYU drops in the Big 12 title game? It's very selective reasoning, I think, just to get the results that they were wanting to get, and then just picking and choosing probably what they think is the best argument for it. I don't know. It's very, very confusing.
And I can understand
fun to talk about.
I can understand that aspect of it, but them not dropping is a little odd to me, especially because they'll have 3 losses. And I get not penalizing them and keeping them in, but when you compare Alabama to Notre Dame, you then can look at Alabama. They ran off those string of 4 wins against teams that were ranked but aren't ranked now. So do they count? I don't know how the committee decides to factor it in week to week. Some weeks you'll see the committee chair say, hey, they had that great stretch in the middle of the season. Then another week they'll say, oh, well, none of the current teams they play are ranked. So, those games still were good opponents, and they have a good strength of schedule and better quality of wins compared to Notre Dame. But then you look at Miami, who beat Notre Dame. Does Alabama have a win like that? They have Georgia, but they just got blown out by Georgia. So, how do you factor keeping them at 9? It's a lot going on there. But, I'm just glad Miami made it in over Notre Dame with that head-to-head at the end of the day.
Yeah, especially after last year getting left out. I know the fan base is probably really happy about that. I want to go to Indiana taking the number 1 spot from Ohio State. I know that, Stan, you had UGA maybe taking that 2nd spot and Ohio State taking number 3. Are you shocked that Ohio State is in that 2 spot? I know now Indiana and Ohio State are on separate sides of the bracket.
Yeah, I'm not too shocked by that move because it was a game that came down to the wire. It was a close game. I would think that, the way Georgia played in that SEC championship game could have, potentially moved them up. But, they did beat a team they already lost to, so that makes sense. But, it doesn't really matter for that 2 and 3 spot because they're all going to play each other anyways at a neutral site. So, I guess it does matter for that quarterfinal round matchup a little bit.
Who do you have in this Ole Miss Tulane matchup? Ole Miss dominated Tulane in September, beat them 45-10. They're set to rematch in the first round with a Kiffinless Rebels squad. So it's going to be fun in Oxford. But who do you have in that game? Will it be close?
Yeah, I think it'll be closer than that game just because the stage is so much larger, and we kind of are still looking to see how Ole Miss looks. But who knows? Tulane has pulled off shockers before in the postseason, and they beat USC in a bowl game with 15 points in what felt like 2 seconds. So crazier things have happened. But that's part of the fun is everyone assumed that these 11 Tulane and 12 JMU getting the last 2 seeds, that those are probably going to be the ones where it looks like the most obvious winner. But you never know. We like to see, we had 1 year of data, And then after 1 year, we say, well, the home team always wins the first round. When maybe that's going to happen this year, I don't know. But 1 year of data, things can change very quickly with one game this year.
I also want to say that Trinidad Chambliss wasn't the starting quarterback confirmed. I know he got some reps here and there earlier in some of the earlier games, especially with that one being a blowout, but he wasn't necessarily the go-to guy in that offense. So Tulane doesn't know how to prepare for him, but he doesn't know how to prepare for Tulane. He's going to be hearing from his teammates saying, oh, it's Tulane. We blew them out. He doesn't have that on-field experience against them to know the speed of that defense. So Tulane could throw some stuff at him to make it a lot closer than people expect.
Well, of the 8 first-round teams, who do you think has the best chance of winning the national championship?
I would say just by default Oregon, because they probably have, again, as we're saying, no one knows anything, probably the easiest first round game, and then just having the most. I mean, Texas Tech looks really good, but I think I'd rather play Texas Tech than Ohio State or Indiana or Georgia, just so that again, this is like kind of. I'm not saying Oregon is gonna, go and do it. I think it's a pretty small margin or a chance of happening. But if I had to pick one, I go Oregon, I guess.
Yeah, from those first round matchups, I'd probably go with Oregon just because they play Texas Tech. But I wouldn't sleep on Oklahoma. I'm not confident in that offense, especially
No one
against
is.
Alabama.
No one is.
Yeah, against Alabama the second time because then they need a fumble in the fourth quarter to win 22-21. Like, can you turnovers, like the ball bounces a different way. Alabama recovers that ball. They kick a game-winning field goal. Oklahoma's not even here right now. So will Oklahoma beat Alabama again? I don't know. But if Oklahoma plays Indiana, the way Ohio State's defensive line got after Mendoza, Oklahoma's defensive line is one of the better ones in the country too. So that could be in their benefit too. So they could go on a run. But the most safe pick is definitely Oregon, like you said, Wayne.
Okay, and going back to the first round matchups, which city would you rather play in? Which city and game would you rather attend or play in?
Oh, it's the Grove, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Obviously. And I mean, don't be wrong. The other ones will be really fun. So it's not like we're saying like that there's a huge gap between them. But if you see Oxford, it's kind of hard to turn that down, especially because this is as they're saying, this could be the biggest game they've had. You can argue with different eras and of football, but you can argue it's the biggest game they've ever had in the program's history because it's a home playoff game and with the coaching change. I mean, it's going to be a lot of eyes on that game and pressure as well to win that game because it's Tulane. But yeah, I would probably say Oxford. That would be really fun. Although it is a 3:30 game, so it's not a night game, so maybe a little more subdued than it would be if it was a night game. But we'll see.
Yeah, I can see them having a massive chip on their shoulder. But New Orleans doesn't have. Tulane doesn't have too far to drive from New Orleans. You could definitely see that both fan bases should show out.
And Kiffin was always complaining about not having night games anyways when he was there. So it's not anything they're not used to. And you look at the other ones like Oregon, what's that, like a 4 p.m. kick for their time, and it's kind of cold and windy. I don't know about that one, especially, coming right before Christmas, students aren't going to be there. So is Oregon going to be like that? I don't know. A&M, 12 noon, 11 local. Don't know. Norman.
Be sure to fill out your own bracket on NCAA.com's new college football bracket challenge game before Friday, December 19th, when the first round begins.